the WWJ Industry Connected Podcast, a monthly podcast devoted to the groundwater industry produced by the National Groundwater Association. I'm your host, Mike Price, and today we're joined by Jennifer Alcorn of Alcorn Pump and Water Filtration, LLC, to discuss leadership, developing SOPs and company minimum standards, and continuing to grow the now fourth generation business. Welcome to the 11th episode of the WWJ Industry Connected Podcast, a monthly podcast devoted to the groundwater industry. I'm your host, Mike Price, senior editor of the National Groundwater Association's Water Oil Journal Trade Magazine, and today I'm with Jennifer Alcorn of Alcorn Pump and Water Filtration, LLC. The company is now fourth generation that has been around since 1938. Welcome, Jennifer. Please introduce yourself and the company.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Alcorn. I'm actually married into the business, but have a love and a passion for it. The company is Alcorn Pump and Water Filtration. Been around since 1938, actually generated here in Washington State from another company and then split off from that, and here we are. So we've got two locations here, Washington State, and then also in Prescott, Arizona. It was a new location to us a few years ago. So I'm owner, manager, operator. I've got a wonderful business partner that helps me with this. So we tag team it and develop new folks along the way.
Excellent. Yes, the many hats you wear. That is what many in the industry do. So can you tell us what your typical day is like in the office, in the field? I mean, it varies. So,
Yep.
And your husband and daughter as well?
Correct. So not only my husband and daughter, but her husband is the service manager for our Arizona branch. So we're really a family niche business, but expand outside of that with other employees and folks that want to come and work with the vision that we have. What we love about our industry and how we've tried to, over the past, especially 6 years, really tone into the areas that we could see needed more improvement for us alone as just a company. Our normal day looks like normally we obviously we wake up, we get up, we go in the shop. We start our day with both of our locations on a Zoom meeting where our first 15 minutes is self-focused and focused on our own self goals. We get into the word actually together as a company, and not everybody is having to join in for that time, but they're welcomed to, of course, and encouraged.
Mm-hmm.
Typically start pretty sharp about a half an hour, 15 minutes after that. And we go over the last day's jobs that we had, talking about the pros and the cons of that day. What technicians or leads were on what jobs? Are they finished? What do we need to do better next time? Really focusing on pros, cons for each particular job. So really just spend that time breaking it up. And then we go on to the plan of attack for the next day. The day that we're, facing, and what we have tasked for that day, and then move forward from there. And we then split off and go our merry ways. So we kind of have it pretty organized from what we call roundup time or table talk time, where we're sitting around this board table for our both locations, kind of pouring into one another, and then organizing what our jobs look like so we can be more proactive instead of reactive. I think in this industry, we deal with so many unforeseen circumstances, right? You can have 100 plans on how you're going to tackle that well, how you're going to tackle, installing that system, whatever your job entails for the day. So having plans is great, but being able to be flexible, being able to change quickly when need be, and for my employees and my team to have the tools and resources that they need to be successful so they can be productive in what it is that they're doing,
Mm-hmm. I love that. The pros and cons, that's each day.
Each day. So we go over 3 pros and cons from the day before. And we kind of do it as a team shout out. All right, guys, what are our 3 pros for yesterday? Give me something. Well, we didn't drop the pump down the well. We broke off that piece of PVC. We were able to catch it in time. That was a pro. We were quick on our feet, A con may have been something like just improper communication with a customer, where maybe I have a junior leader who's moving up into a different different roles in our industry and learning how to appropriately communicate job site change, right? So when we have those change orders that come in, how are we communicating with our customers? So one of my employees may jump up and say, hey, Con, yesterday, as I didn't get approved work order before I added a additional control box into what was needed on this install. So my Con was not communicating clearly with my customer. And so I then was putting out fires instead of communicating clearly. And so then we kind of write these down. And our goal with this is by the end of the month, when we do a month recap, we look and then write down all of our pros for the month, all of our cons for the month, and determine, do we have an action plan in place to fix those cons? Do our minimum standards with our company, our SOPs with our company, are those that are already in place fixing the cons that we're experiencing as a team? Or do we as a team need to develop other, avenues and ways so we can continue to be proactive, really?
Right. That's really an innovative idea. Yeah, I love that. The safety for the day, does that get done via the Zoom as well, or is that on the job site? The safety
It does. Yep. So that does daily. So part of our recapping or our executing that job is going over not only the pros and cons, but then looking at each job in detail. A lot of that's done by job site photos, pulling up our estimates or our bids as a team, talking about what our location looks like, our exit points, our hoist, setting up our hoist, what type of weather we're dealing with. Weather is a big thing in both locations for us. So in Prescott, we have lots of high winds. We have 4 seasons of some pretty tough weather at times. And in Washington, there's rain. And let me guess, more rain. So working in these different environments and talking about, hey, do we have de-icer on our rigs? Are we following our safety standards for both states, which are very polar opposite from OSHA to L&I requirements here for safety? So talking about that for our team, making sure that all of their safety gear is on each of the rigs. And then we actually do quarterly safety meetings, and that's when we really dive into our safety. And we're doing more of a safety training every quarter, but it's brought up in our monthly meetings as well. So
that's great. And one more thing before we move on, the bulk of your customers, I mean, you said change orders, so you've that entails some big type customers. So it's not just residential you're working for.
Correct. So we do residential work and we do commercial work as well. So the only thing Alcorn Pump doesn't do at this point is actually drill water wells itself. Now, we did have AP drilling and started the drilling process in Washington State a few years back. And that's near and dear to our heart, something we want to expand our company into. We know, of course, we have a lot of friends in the industry that, that's their focus of business. And then on the side, they do pump installs, they maybe do filtration and things. And we're kind of that opposite company that doesn't really drill the wells, but we're the guys that come in and work also alongside of other drilling companies. We like to make friends in the industry. We believe there's enough work to go around, but there's so much knowledge out there. And I'm the type of person that I know this much. I can scratch the surface of it. I want to learn from folks. I want to learn from our friends in the industry and be there to help them in a time of need. And we're really a tight-knit industry where I believe the majority of us, we're there for one another. And we are continuing to want to, learn and finding new tricks for what we do. So we don't drill wells, but we install water well systems, and I subcontract water wells that need to be drilled, where I will work with trusted drilling companies in both of our areas. And that's when a lot of that is going through me. That customer, wants to work with Alcorn Pump, and sometimes have a really hard time understanding what drilling a well looks like, what it is. There's a lot involved, where I can kind of come in and break it up for them, walk alongside, and then talk with, a said drilling company and say, hey, I've got this customer, here's what they're looking for. Let's work together and help this help this family out. And then they come and drill that well for me. And then boom, I'm right in to do all the state testing, any water testing that needs to be done. And then also design that water well system, that pumping system for that family's need right there. right? So we look at then different options that was going to fit that family the best. Is this a forever home? Is this a rental property? Or are we dealing with more commercial, agricultural, whatever those might be, whatever our job scope is? So
Yeah.
communication and making friends in the industry. Absolutely love it.
And the company's creation of the SOPs, you shared some of that with me, and it's in the company minimum standards from a hiring, training perspective. Can you delve into that for us a bit?
Oh, absolutely. If I'm not recreating myself, or we're not recreating our technicians and our installers, then we're dying. Our industry is dying. We have to be in the mindset where we are becoming better. We're looking at all the changes going on in the water well industry, looking at all the changes going on in our world, our United States, and be that mindset that we're willing to grow, change, and just be better, and protect, promote, defend, and that's huge and near and dear to me. So SOPs really started to get more developed seriously for our company when I would go out on job sites with my crews, because I wanted to learn. I'm the gal that doesn't believe in just sitting behind a desk and answering phones. That's wonderful. But I found I could help my customers better if I, behind that desk, had a better understanding of what my business partner, what the rest of us, what they did in the industry. So I wanted to get my hands dirty, wear high heels 3 days a week. And then the other days, put on the Carhartts, put on the work boots, and get out there and let's really see what this is about. And I just started noticing a few little things that were very consistent within the industry, safety wise, or treatment wise, when we're talking about disinfecting water wells, well shocking, or even rehabilitation. We do a lot of rehabilitation here at our company too. And when I saw consistent mistakes being made, I thought, well, where's that consistent solution? So let's come together as a team and really find good SOPs. So my new guys that are coming into the industry and wanting to learn this trade, they have clear understanding of how do I deal with A, B, and C when I'm out in the field, and how do you properly, how many wraps it take, go above and below the coupling when you're installing, right? How many, what are your SOPs for sizing, pressure tanks, what are manufacturer specs for each of the stuff, each of the type of product that we're using. And so we just started off slow with, honestly, well disinfection and well shocking, and go, well, how do you measure chlorine residuals? When do you do that? When do you let it pump to waste? Do you, how much chlorine do you, well, there's all that information's out there, but it's all jumbled. Right. So I wanted to take all that information and condense it into something that was easily to understand for new guys, clear to understand for advanced pump installers, people that have been doing this for 12, 24 years, right? And it could be duplicatable. And that was always my heart on SOPs. Is this understandable? Is it duplicatable? Does it give my team the tools that they need to be successful and expand what they're doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you've gotten into the field a bit yourself and learned quite a bit.
Absolutely.
Installing and servicing pump systems. What's your favorite aspect
of
being in the field?
Honestly, I love working the hoist. I love setting pumps. I like it. I like machinery. I think it's fun. But the other aspect of that, I think, would be my favorite aspect is solving problems. So when something doesn't go your way, when you end up in a situation, you're like, whoa, I didn't expect that. All the data that I had, my water static, my well depth, now it's changed so drastically that, what are we going to do quickly to think on our feet to solve the situation for this family who's been now out of water for 2 or 3 days, right? And I love it when those things arise, because then it's like, all right, let's find a solution. Let's do this quickly. Or, when you're out in the middle of nowhere and you're previous guy running your truck didn't follow his minimum standard and restock that, truck correctly. And you go, I'm supposed to have pipe wrap, my torch, my wrenches, and they're not anywhere where I need. And now I'm out here having to collect a bacteria sample, and I've got to disinfect this appropriately beforehand. What am I going to use? How am I going to do this? So those things really excite me, finding solutions for problems. And I think is one of my favorite things. But ultimately, I like getting my hands dirty. I like setting pumps and designing water systems. I think that's a real fun one for me.
Yeah. And so you're all about learning the trade and learning leadership and training, and try to be a positive leader. What have you learned in leadership the past 10 years that you could share with us?
Honestly, leadership is serving. Number one, I think that if I were to sum up leadership, it's being a servant. It's not willing to do or tell somebody to do something that you're not willing to do yourself. And the last 10 years, I'm a big book reader, and honestly, I'm dyslexic. I'm probably the world's worst speller. My education doesn't go, up. I don't have some big bachelor degree or anything like that. I've been self-taught, and I've loved to grow myself. And so reading a lot of books, John Maxwell, Jocko Willink, the 5 levels of leadership, extreme ownership, the dichotomy of leadership, taking those books and then saying, hey, how can I take everything that I'm reading here and apply this into our industry? How can we be better? And so as a leader myself, I failed. I fail a lot. I look at where I fail. I do self-reflecting of myself and how can I be better, and then find ways to apply that, and then share that. Be willing to be honest and be humble and operate with humility and share that with folks. Hey, yeah, you're not great here, but looking for those owner mindset individuals, and then myself just trying to be better each day.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great. And with your daughter and your son-in-law, how have you gone about bringing them up, raising them up, or training them up?
Those guys, they're amazing. And like I said, if we're not recreating and duplicating ourselves, we're failing, right? And so honestly, with my daughter and my son-in-law, we didn't intend that they would move so quickly. Brandon has been in the industry now around in 4 years, just about. And the amount of knowledge, I say kid, right? We're 24. The amount of knowledge he has at 24, how humble he is, how willing he is to get his hands dirty and take on challenging jobs, challenging situations, not even knowing half of what maybe he should, but then to research and find what he needs, reach out to lifelines. So I think it's just been encouraging. Our kids watching us, our team watching us, and again, developing new leaders. I've got an employee right now who just moved up into a lead, what we call lead tech position with our company, because I've got a structure of, you hire on as a trainee, and what are you a trainee for? How far do you want to go in this industry? And even if you have 5 years in the industry, if you come on board with Alcorn Pump, you're still going to be holding that trainee title at least for your first 45 days. Mm-hmm. And that's so we can determine how well do you fit with our team, and how can you help us? Can we help you? How can we share that information, right? And so I have one particular employee who he'd been in the industry about 3 years, but unfortunately just was working somewhere where he didn't have a lot of that leadership training, right? He was kind of just thrown to the wolves. And so he learned a lot, very, very great guy. And so now he's in here and he's just growing and learning left and right and moving up, and he's got a leadership mindset, a heart, and he's humble. Brandon was the same way. And I realized that really soon in him. And then my daughter, oh my gosh, that girl, similar to mommy, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. She isn't scared to get her hands dirty. She loves to be in the field. So starting with her as well, hey, if I would have had time in the field early on, it would have allowed me to help my customers in the office even better than I can now. And so from training my daughter, here's how you appropriately take phone calls. So we have call books that are designed to the type of calls we receive in this industry. Our customers wanting a new water well. What questions do my office gals or guys need to ask these folks? So when that, estimator or that technician is on site, they're prepared to be efficient. Efficiency is key. key to making money. If we're not efficient, we're throwing away money, right? And we want to be efficient for our customers. We want to be efficient for ourselves. We want to be safe in what we do. We don't want to be losing fingers, or better, worse yet, have an injury so bad that we can't do what we love to do. So the kids and other folks have seen that early on. Hey, this is what mom's doing on a Saturday at 2:00. There's an emergency, no water. Well, guess what? We're going to take that call. We're going to treat that customer with respect, and then give that customer options if they need service now or if they're wanting to wait till Monday. It's the customer's choice, but we're available at any time there's a need as much as we can. And the kids kind of have seen that. So they've just taken what was natural to them, and man, they moved with it. And when we were looking at relocating our, not relocating, but restarting our Washington branch up, honestly, I didn't think Brandon or Rochelle were quite ready with the pressures of running a location yet. Being so just Rochelle at that point, she was a year in the industry, and she was still very, very green for her office position, right? And really more of my assistant at that point. And I said, why do you think you're ready? And they said, well, why wouldn't we be? And we're not going to know unless we try. You've prepared us for so many different options of how this could go, and we want to prove, we want to show you. It's not in what we say, but it's in what we do. It's our actions. We can say all we want, but do our actions add up, right? And so we said, all right, let's see what you do. Those guys have been making waves in Arizona. Their hearts, customers love it. They're bringing in business. They're failing. They're learning from those failures. They're helping develop other SOPs. I mean, what? You didn't just take what we taught you, but now you're building upon that, So, how do you, appropriately do an acid treatment to a well? Well, there's safety procedures out there, but what's Alcorn Pump's SOP? So we make sure from A to Z we're covered, and the customer is happy and things are great. And they did it. And they bring it to their management team for review, because we'd have monthly company meetings, quarterly safety meetings. We do our morning briefings, and really our morning briefings, they don't take a lot of time. I think a lot of guys in the industry go, oh my gosh, that's going to take so much time. We're really, to go through everything once it's organized, it's about anywhere from, 25 to 30 minutes at the top most mornings.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of time to recap, to look over your jobs, and then prepare for in-depth meetings. We've got to shut down our Washington location. It broke our heart. It broke our customers' hearts. We realized that we needed to reopen that when we ended up with 312 requests for us to come back to Washington State. And so in the course of a year and a half to 2 years, customers were begging us to come back. They were, when customers are willing to pay your travel expenses, your plane expenses to come, put in a simple system for them because of just how we handle customer relations and the experience I think that we have, which is not due to our own. It's a team effort. It's a team industry effort. It's not even just an Alcorn Pump team. It's an industry team effort here. And it was very humbling, and we felt very blessed that Washington wanted us back so bad. And so we started coming back slowly. Our licensing was still active and good. And so we said, we'll come down and we'll do one job. We'll do two jobs, we'll help you out, and that turned into 3 and 4 and 10 and 15. And before we knew it, we said, Brandon and Rochelle, they wanted that opportunity. They're running that location. And now we're going to go revamp Washington, where we're rooted out of. And we did. And we're busy. So now we'll be expanding here. Different states, as have different licensing requirements. So it's a lot more challenging in Washington State to really work in this industry. I've got lots of solutions for that. I've been hitting my head against the wall for that for years, but there's a lot of opportunity available here in Washington State. And our company is one of those companies that works with our guys to get licensed. So they're getting the proper licensing that's needed so they can legally work in what we do here. So it's a little slower to really build here in Washington because of the requirements, but it is definitely feasible. I mean, guys are getting licensed within 2 to 3 years, holding their electrical and their plumbing license, specific for Washington State. And it's pretty amazing to see. And I think the state has a lot more industry-wise here that we can do so we can continue to grow in Washington. And I'm just excited. I'm excited to be back. like I said, not feeling the best, but you're getting used to the rainy and cold season again.
Yeah.
So here we are.
So yeah, and as you know, workforce development is the industry's top concern, and you've touched on it a bit, where your goal is to replicate. If you don't, the industry dies. How should the industry as a whole look at recruiting and training moving forward? I mean, other than what you've just said of you got to replicate yourself.
Mhm.
Is there
Well,
anything more?
yeah, well, what I've seen is I've seen either our industry be very particular about who they want to work with, over particular at one aspect, or way too relaxed on the other aspect. So, a lot of folks that I've worked with over the years or talked to through the events that we go on together, have just said, hey, finding good people is hard. And I was like, not really. Part of what I did before is I was an HR manager for, a company where a part of my job was hiring and recruiting. And so I kind of took some of that and I said, there's a lot of good folks out there, but if they don't know about our industry, then how can they have an opportunity to work for us? And so most people, they don't understand the water well industry. They don't know that it really is out there. When you talk to the general population, it's like, all right, I turn on my faucet and water comes out. It probably comes from the city, or yeah, I've got a water well. Great. What do I do with it? So we're big on even educating our customers on what they can do for their homes. But for hiring, it's a lot of people typically just come to us through, knowing industry wise and want to come work for us. And then we go through a 3-step interview process that's pretty intense, where we, start off very, casual. And then part of our interview process is actually an in-field observation where I pay for that new hire to come in and come on board with us and go out and turn some wrenches and operate the hoist, because somebody can sit in front of you and say whatever they want. But when you're working with somebody, right, and when you're building teams, sometimes, John and Mark, they may not work well together, but guess what? Mark works really good with Rob, and they all have a great vision. So, learning to go through proper interviewing processing, learning when you need to hire, where to put that information out, and then also once you have that new person on board, developing an appropriate program for them. So that first 45 days, none of my guys are truly hired on till after 45 days. Yes, they're getting paid, but through that process, this is the make it or break it time, because I may like you, but for that first 45 days, we just may not work, or you may come into this industry and find you really don't like it like you thought you did, right? And how is somebody going to know unless they try? And with our industry being what I kind of joke about, a hush hush industry, I think it makes it hard for us to continue to grow as an industry. Why? Because it's so just special niched, which is great, and it should be, but I think it maybe affects our ability as an industry to expand appropriately, and not too fast, not too slow. So it's I could probably talk on that for a few hours. Like, really, it's something that's huge. I want to protect, promote, and defend our precious resources, which is water. I mean, without water, where are we? And you look at our company, I've got 2 shops at 2 very polar opposite states, where Washington, I personally feel, is well over-regulated in certain areas, where there was a lot of regulation put there based on more fear than facts. Not that it was bad, but I think there's room for improvement. I mean, if we don't look at our states and our industry as having the ability to improve, then we're stuck. And I think Arizona has a lot of wonderful, great things in place, but they're very behind on where our industry has grown to now here in 2024, moving into the 2025 year. And so we're a part of the Groundwater Association for Arizona. Actually, we were just asked to represent Arizona State for Groundwater Week coming up here, which our company will be attending. So that was really cool. And getting involved with our water well associations, no matter what state we're in, we have big visions to grow more shops, little satellite, in different states. And no matter where we are, being involved with groundwater, being involved with legislation, being involved with those things, how can we help? That's our heart. Our heart as a company, is we love what we do. We have fun. If you're not having fun in what you're doing, then go find something else to do, because tomorrow's not promised, right? You don't know if you're going to have tomorrow. So if you're, kicking against the goat and whatever it is, you know, you need to have fun in what you do. And we're kind of at this awkward spot as a company, but exciting spot. And so I'm really excited to see what next year holds for us, honestly, and how we can just be better.
And lastly, your leadership vision waiver idea. We got to talk about that.
Yeah.
Tell me how that came about, and where you came about with that idea.
So yeah, that was during one of our seasons when we were really growing as a company very fastly, right? I don't know if fastly is a word, but we were quickly advancing, you know,
Yeah.
during this particular season. And I had a lot of these guys, I had so many leaders yet not, just a button heads, you know, it happens, but it wasn't something that was going away. It was staying present within our shop. And I'm like, you know, I don't think these guys really understand what leadership is. Different than managers, different than management. And, you know, do they have that leadership mindset? Well, before they know if they have it or not, they got to know what it is. And so I started to challenge my team with some questions off and on, you know, hey, what does it mean to be a leader to you? And then maybe next week I'd asked a couple other questions, and just taking, you know, things from Jocko Willink, John Maxwell, some of these other leadership books that I've written over the years, and saying, how can I condense something like this for what our Alcorn pump vision is, what it means for Alex and I as owners and leaders of this. You know, why do we do what we do as an owner? Why am I still scrubbing a toilet? Why am I still out doing job site estimates? Why Alex at 25, 26 years in the industry, is he still, you know, turning wrenches? Well, he loves it. Yeah. It's not that he can't sit behind a desk, but he loves what he does. Same with me. I love what I do. And so, honestly, we wanted to take our heart of leadership, and we wanted to allow our team to see where we are. Here's our heart of leadership. And we have it posted at each location. So at any time, anybody can pull up our leadership, you know, I don't even know what you would call it, whatever it is. And they can read through and they can view our heart. And then as my team develops from junior leaders to lead technicians to, you know, part of the management team where they're sitting in and seeing what a manager looks like here at our company, to then moving up to service manager, to general manager, and how we've structured that, then they get to sign this leadership thing when they believe in it, when they get that position. And so we do an announcement and take photos and give a certificate, you know, hey, we take leadership seriously. And then we have our leadership handbook. So not only do we have a normal company hiring handbook, but I went farther and said, hey, now that I have these junior leaders and I have these lead technicians and I'm building service managers, I'm building general managers, and our company is growing that way, do my leaders and my managers know what their do's and their don'ts are? Do they know what discounts they can give, where they're at with inventory? Do they know how to appropriately order inventory? Where is our company on a monthly and quarterly basis? You know, do our leaders know how to hire? Do they know how to appropriately correct somebody in the field? How to appropriately do write-ups if a write-up's needed, or how to appropriately give an award? We have a wheel in our Arizona location and we spin that wheel. Hey, you know what? Chris did great and sold this amazing club plan that as something else our company developed. And it was a great fit for that customer. And he went above and beyond. Chris, go spin the wheel. He'll spin the wheel and maybe you'll get, lunch on the bosses, or you'll have to arm wrestle, another employee, right? Or just to make things fun. And really developing these things and making things transparent. I don't like to hide things from my team. So our leadership, ourselves, we want to be as transparent as we can on where our strengths are. And then with that transparency, we have forms. My guys are like, more forms. I said, yeah. Well, when you're consistent, then you don't need the forms. Right now you're growing, and then they do. And then sometimes these forms that I have, they go away because they're not needed, because now they're imprinted, but a weekly, our leads, they fill out a weekly, end of the week form where it is a tool for them to say, hey, did I make all my callbacks? Did I send all my estimates? Did I do everything? Am I ready for the next week coming? Did I close my week as a leader? And did I delegate tasks to my team? And did I also involve myself in those tasks? Because guess what? The new guy's, going to be doing a lot more truck cleaning because he's training that way. He knows what parts are, where they go, where they're stocked. It's good. But that lead is still out there. helping and making sure that they're learning and that they know that's now ownership that they're taking, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's really what leadership is taking ownership in that and serving. And that's what we teach our guys. And then we welcome our team to, any areas of improvement that we can do. How can we be better for you? What do you see how we can be better for our company, our industry? I want to hear from you. Some of these guys have got a lot of great ideas, but nobody asks the right questions. So how do you get information if you don't ask questions,
Yeah. How do you go about, so feedback from your employees, you have a system for that?
Yep, absolutely.
Well,
Yep. So we get feedback from them on a weekly basis, and then we get feedback from them during employee reviews. So they go through a 45-day review. The first year with us, we actually sit down for 4 in-depth reviews with our new employees. And then we also do what's called in-field observation at least once a year. And that's where we go out in the field hands off and we observe from A to Z employees' interactions with customers. Do they call the customer when they're on their way to the job site? How do they do their installs? Are they properly installing through, National Electrical Code, Plumbing Code? Are they installing per groundwater, my brain stopped, but getting licensed to National Groundwater? Are they, handling everything correctly in the field on a mechanical side, but also a customer relations side? And then we document all of that so we can then sit with our employee and say, hey, here's where we see this is great. You taught us here even. Wow. And then here's an area of improvement that we really want you over the next 30 days to focus on some more in-depth electrical theory when we're talking, 3-phase and single phase. Or here's what we want you to really work on when invoicing a customer, that you have to talk. There has to be communication, not thanks for the work. Now give me a $12,000 check. Bye.
Right.
So we don't know those leaders if we're not willing to take time out of our day and go observe. And that was my thing is, you can hear things, but if you as that leader is not investing into your employees enough to at least observe where they're strong and where they're weak at, then ultimately, it's well, some people might not like this, but it's your fault if they don't succeed. And then as a leader, you can say, you know what, I've done all these things right. If they don't succeed, you can sleep well at night knowing that you've had the proper resources and tools for your team, right? And then that's on them. You can't control somebody else, so that's on them.
Yeah, good stuff, Jennifer. Thank you for battling through bronchitis here, talking through it, and sharing a wealth of knowledge here and with us. All the best in the future. It's exciting times for you and the company.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you. It's been wonderful to chat, and if you guys need anything from us, you let us know. We'll be here.
Thanks for watching and listening to the WWJ Industry Connected Podcast. We'll be back next month with a brand new episode, so be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. We're on all the major platforms, so it will be easy to find us. And visit waterworldjournal.com for the latest expert columns, feature articles, videos, and news covering the groundwater industry. So one more time for Jennifer and I, thank you for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.